Hi Flosstube, my name is Matt, here with Starflight Creations for my Flosstube number 4, recap of the end of September stitching and all of October. I wanted to put out one around the beginning of October, 2 weeks after my last one in September, but I got sick for the second time, and since my last one in September, I was still really head fogged from being sick. I kind of wanted to let that all pass before I record another Flosstube to try and make it a little bit more coherent for y'all. So I'm coming to you today on the last day of October. So happy Halloween. So to begin with, a FFO, or a fully finished object. I finally have one, my first one that I've ever had for myself, which is my Harry Potter Stitch Along by Stuart Cunningham. So I have finally finished it, and I just got it in a frame I got from a thrift store, and yeah, I'm really excited about that. Happy to get it up on my wall. That one took me over 6 years to complete, so I was really happy when I got that one done. And that is my only fully finished object at this point. So then I will go into whips. The first whip I have to show you is the one I have for my round robin, being put on by Jason X Stitches here on YouTube, which is the stitching connection. And so I was doing Crafty Dragon by Stuart Cunningham. I am doing my own color conversion to switch the red dragon that he had charted to a wind dragon. So this is what it will look like when it is done. Last time you saw it, it was at 2,763 stitches out of 5,027 stitches total, which was 53%. So I put in 2,264 stitches, and I am happy to announce it is now completed. And the last time I showed it to you all, I was so brain fogged that I didn't even mention what I really wanted to mention, was that I had a mistake up here in the spike. He has a lot of quarter stitches, which on a 14 count Ada would probably be fine, but on a 16 count Ada like this, they just looked so horrible when I was trying to do quarter stitches. I just decided to switch them into either half stitches or whole stitches, because normally he'd have two partial stitches right next to each other, so I just turned one into fully one color and the other into fully the other color. And so that one I went with the gray that I was outlining everything, 3799, but then it really did not look good, so I was like, oh, well then I'll just go back and I'll make it into the blue. But for some reason, I normally can unpick my stitches, but those ones would not come out of the fabric, and I didn't have a seam ripper handy, so I just thought, oh, I'll just stitch over it. And that didn't really work. I mean, it kind of worked a little bit, but at the bottom of the spike, I don't know if I can get it in close enough for you to see, but right there at the bottom of that light blue spike, it just kind of looks a little damaged, and so I've just decided that my dragon will have a funky spike. But other than that, I really like the way it came out, especially the little crafty snacks and notions along the bottom. There really wasn't a whole lot of back stitching, so it was really nice, and I'm really glad to get that done. So now I just need to wash this and send a message in our group chat, find out when we are going to send them off to each other, and then the other three will stitch their own dragons on my fabric, and when I get it back I will have a piece that has 4 different little dragons around it. So I am really looking forward to that. So my next one is the one that I was doing for the hashtag Word Pin to Shape, which is hosted by Andrew the Runner Stitcher here on YouTube. For this challenge, I am doing Living Room Set number 2 by Alina Artsova. Probably butchered that, but I wanted to include the name because last time I couldn't remember it and I didn't have it written down. I have been trying to look around to see if there's a link to show this pattern, but I haven't been able to find one. I knew I bought it off of Etsy, but she is no longer on there. I don't know if because she was a Russian designer. I know that Google had a lot of issues with Russia, so I don't know if Etsy has had the same thing or if she just happened to retire or whatnot. So far I haven't been able to find another spot where this one is currently available. But the last time that you saw it, I had 14,855 stitches in, which was 60.3%. Since then, I have put in 545 stitches, so I am still significantly behind. I was trying to catch up before he ran the marathon this weekend, and that is not going to happen since I'm still over 1,000 stitches behind, but I will just get caught up and put him in there and give him the stitches that he is owed. But right now it is now up to 15,400 stitches out of the 24,627 total, which brings it to 62.5%. And so it now looks like this. And so since last time, I have came over to this section and filled it in, and then I went up here and filled in some of this and did a whole bunch of this. I was going to be able to get further on that because along the edges of the border everything is half stitch, so I was going to just do a bunch of those and knock that out, but I couldn't find, I had ran out of that color, and every single time I was like, oh, I'll just put that one in next time and I'll just keep stitching with what I have on hand. And then the next time I go to pick it up, I'd remember the same thing and be like, oh, well, I'll do that next time. So I never got those colors put back in there. So finally yesterday I sat down and added a whole bunch of the colors I'd ran out of back into the ones I'd kitted up for this project to get more progress on it. But I'm also kind of trying to decide if I want to keep. In the past, I always just like got a little bobbin box and put in the bobbins with some thread for each of the ones that it called for it. But now since I have a master set DMC, I'm kind of deciding, do I just want to work off the master set? Do I want to have it? It has been helpful to like be on the go when I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the library and stitch with my friends. Just have something I can grab. But also, I'm like, how often does that happen? So I'm still working on deciding how I want to keep going forward. But in the meantime, it does have its own kitted up little things, so I'm working off of that. The last whip that I have to show you from last time was Hogwarts. Here's what it's going to look like when it is finished. It is by Dark X Stitch here on YouTube. It is a free pattern in her Facebook group. And I started this for my friend Debbie's birthday. We both started it on her birthday. I did have it started last time, but I didn't show it to you because I only had 4 stitches into it. But now I have put another 144 stitches to get up to 148 stitches out of the 227,700, which brings it to 0.1%. And this is on 16 count Easy Grid Ada. It is stitching up really fast, and it is really nice to just stitch on this one. I did decide to do a bottom left corner start this time. I normally am a top left starter, but everybody I saw online doing this one was cropping it, and they all cropped off that bridge down in the bottom left hand side to focus more on the castle. But I really like that bridge, so I decided to start down at the bottom left so I could work on the bridge. Currently I'm working on the water under the bridge, but I am going to make my way up and have fun stitching that bridge. This was one I really wanted to start, but then like as soon as I started it, I got sick, and then I just kept running out of time for everything. So I am hoping to get some more progress on that one soon. And then since the last time that I was on Flosstube, I did do 2 new starts, and the first one of them is the Nostalgic Tarot Frame by the Witchy Stitcher. Here's a partial photo of what it will look like when it is finished. So for this one, I dyed a 16 count Ada. This was originally white. I dyed it black because every single time I bought a black, I have not liked the way it feels. And then I did a paint splatter technique with golden paint to kind of get rid like a stars in space feel. And so currently I am at 358 stitches out of the 14,685, which is just the frame, not any of the cards that are included in the middle of the frame. And that is at a 2.4%. And I am now done with all of the white on the first page of that, and so now I have to decide if I want to continue onto the next page and go along the top here and hit the tarot and the rainbows and whatnot, or if I want to right here start the rainbow frame, which would then allow me to stitch the first card, the Fool. So I haven't decided on that yet, but I did decide to start that project because I didn't have anything from the Witchy Stitcher, and I am going to a retreat in April, the Children of the Thread, which the main designer is the Witchy Stitcher, so I wanted to have something started for her. And while I got her latest book that she just released, that one was the one that was calling me the most. It is a free pattern on her website. And then the next new start I have is for the Winter Connection. Jason X Stitches, after the success of the round robin, decided that he wanted to, be able to work with more people, and he wanted to do an ornament exchange. So he is hosting the Winter Connection, which will be an ornament exchange. It's a small ornament that needs to be completed by November 14th, fully finished, and he has a Google form where he will upload a picture, and then he will set up the exchange. So I am trying to get mine done before then so I can be part of that. So for that, I decided to do Mothman by Lola Crow Studios. Here is what it will look like when it is finished. So I have 339 stitches done out of the 1,686, which is 20.1%. This is on a 14 count white Ada, which is funny because I started it on a 14 count black Ada, and I was stitching along, and then I was looking at the pattern, and I was like, this pattern looks like it's on white. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I misread the pattern. And so I went and grabbed a piece of white fabric and started it over again on that. And I got right up to where I was before with the black fabric, and then since it was a paper pattern, I had it folded, and then I was looking at the front, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, all of these on black fabric. And then I looked at the back, and it said that recommends you to do it on an 18 count black Ada. And I was like, oh, so it was supposed to be on black. So I decided to go ahead and finish the white one for the winter connection, and then I'd finish the one I had on black for myself, and I'd see which one of the two I liked best, and I'd do the rest of them that on that fabric. But I'm kind of understand why she said that on an 18 count black would be best, because when you look at it like this, it doesn't look too bad in the camera, but when you get it up close, there is kind of a lot that's going through the coverage. So I don't feel it'll look too bad like across the room on a tree. So I still think it'll be fine to give for the winter connection, but I do think that it'll probably look better on the black. So I'm still will see how I feel about it when I get both completed. So that is all of the ones that I currently have started at the time. I have, since the last time that I recorded, gone to Acorns and Threads again, and I just had a couple of pieces that I bought. One being the Cryptic Christmas that I was doing the Mothman for, and the second, the Stitch Crypts House of Book Dragons, which as soon as I saw it, I was like, that is me, I need that. Which is funny because one of the people from my round robin stitching connection, when she watched my first Flosstube, which was a war parade, she was like, oh, you really like dragons, don't you? And I never stopped to think about it, and I was like, oh, I have a lot of projects that have dragons, which was funny, because if you look around my house, it's all elephants, like literally 700 elephants. So that was really funny to be like, oh, apparently in cross-stitching, it's all dragons. But as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, I need to have that. And plus, also because I was so excited with getting my Crafty Dragon done, but then it's like, it's done, but it's also not done, because now I have to send it off to everybody else and wait for all of them to finish theirs before I can get it back and have it be a fully finished object. So, and I'd wanted to put something on the wall behind me, like you always see with all of the other floss tubers when they're doing their floss tube and they have all of their cross stitch behind them. But I couldn't figure out a good spot to put my Harry Potter here. Probably gonna end up having to hang it up somewhere else in my bedroom. So I wanted to get something on the wall behind me that I could be like, oh, this is my cross stitch. So I wanted something small that I could do and put up there that wouldn't take, 15 years like most of my projects will. So I decided that I'd start House of Book Dragons for that. So currently I am working on the Mothman to try and get that done by November 14th. And then once I get that done, I will work on House of Book Dragons as a daily project until such a point as I get the next round robin from one of my other teammates. And then that will have to be my focus going forward. And the other thing that I found really funny when I was at Acorns and Threads was I ran across a bunch of notions I'd never seen before. One of them were counting pens. And when I was looking at the package, it looked like one just giant pen. And I was like, well, I don't understand how that works. And I don't know who would use it. And then I came home, and I believe it was watching, it may have been MJ Stitches 23, it may have been someone else. Watched a lot of Flosstube this last month. But they'd just been to a retreat, and one of the things that they got in the retreat bag or one of the table gifts was counting pens, and they were showing it, and the package that they unwrapped looked exactly like the one I'd seen in Acorns and Threads. And then they pulled it out to show how it has two little small needles at the bottom of it, and that you use those for your counting. And I was like, later that day as I'm stitching and I'm doing my counting, I'm like, because I was counting for a new start, and I was like, oh, this would be really helpful to have counting pens. So I was like, maybe what I need to do is start focusing on notions, because when I got home with the paper patterns for the Stitch Crypts, House of Book Dragons, and the Mothman, I tried to put them into Pattern Keeper through the camera upload program. But I don't know if it's just because I'm a really horrible photographer or if it's an issue with Pattern Keeper, but I could just not get them to upload at all. Where it would help me in the slightest, where it'd be useful. So I'm like, I tried to go out and buy a PDF pattern for House of Book Dragons, but it was not available. Currently, that's only through paper pattern. So I was like, alright, whatever. I would have still had to get this in paper pattern. But I'm like, maybe going forward, what I need to do is just be writing down the ones that I see and be like, oh, I really need that. And then go and get the PDF pattern because that's what I'm going to use. And then I can just buy notions at my local needle shops. So that will be my, at least my intentions going forward with Hull. As for plans, number one, work on Winter Connection. I need to get Mothman done before the 14th, and I'm a really slow stitcher, so I will need to put a lot of focus on that. And then if I have any more time after that before I get my next round robin, it will be focusing on House of Book Dragons. I want to, they did it on like a light blue, but I really feel like a yellow-red dyed fabric might work really well on that. So I just need to dye up a piece of fabric and see how it looks to me before I get started with that. And then my last piece of plans was the last video I watched for Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She had a new Stitcher game that she was creating and starting, that she was going gagas over, that she called Milestone Manor, which was a combination of her Great British Bake Off game that she'd been doing with D&D and board games and a whole bunch of other inspirations, where she was using it to tell her what to stitch and how much to stitch on her projects. She'd taken her house and she'd put a project in each room randomly. Her husband put it in an envelope, and then as she got to that room, she would open up the envelope, find out what she was going to stitch, and roll dice to see how much she was going to stitch on that project for. And she was like, oh, I'm not going to explain much about this because I'm the only one interested in it. Of course, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm extremely interested in that. D&D/stitching, that sounds awesome to me. So I kept waiting for her video to be put out to show her rules and whatnot that she had put together for it. But she got sick, so she wasn't able to release that. And so I just ended up brainstorming at work during my breaks on my own of what I felt like. And I ended up doing a tweak, which I'm going to call Darkwood Keep, because hers is all about hitting her milestones, is why she's calling it Milestone Manor. Because, page finishes, percentages finishes, things that she wants. None of my projects are far enough along yet that I'm really feeling the need for milestones and whatnot. I just feel the need for them to be stitched. I just want to keep stitching on them. I want something that will help me feel the need to stitch on them, and something to help me decide which of the ones get stitched on. And so I have decided to call it Darkwood Keep, because currently I feel like my projects are all in the dark, shoved away, and I want to keep stitching on them. So I went online and found a free map for D&D, and so I decided, since it was October, that I would do something spooky. And so in D&D, when you're adventuring and you come across things, you always start from the road. And so I decided I would start from the road, and the first step would be a cemetery, and I would explore the mausoleum. So that will be where I will initially enter Darkwood Keep. I decided that my rules for the game will be that every single time I enter a room, I will roll a d6 to determine how many 100 stitches I have to do to kill that project as a boss. And then when I've killed that, it will drop a key and give me some experience. Once I've reached a level of experience, I'm going to say for the first level, it's going to be 1,000 points. So once I reach 1,000 points, then I will upgrade to a level 2. And so I decided that if I can get 5 boss keys, then I am allowed to do a new start. And then I decided that one of the problems I keep having is when I focus a lot on my cross stitch, a lot of my other crafty things seem to go by the wayside. And then when I work on them, I don't feel like I'm getting the progress I want on my cross stitch. So I wanted something that would allow me to work on the other stuff, but yet not feel like I just threw my cross stitch under a bridge. And so I decided that I was going to do rewards for my other crafty things. So when I write a page in my book, when I do so many flowers on the crochet blankets I'm making, if I make continuous stitching on every single day for a week, if I hit an extra 100 stitches on House of Book Dragons, which will be my next focus project, then I will get a reward. And those rewards will either be health potions, which will give me back 25 health, which I decided that the bosses would immediately hit you for 100 hit points if you didn't complete the amount of stitches that you need to do for them in that week that they get rolled. And at the beginning, I'm just going to start off with 100 hit points. So at the first time, if I go up against a boss and I don't hit it, it will kill me, and I'll have to start all over again as a new person. But in the future, if I've increased my health and I'm able to stand that, then the health potion will help keep me alive. Or it will unlock a familiar, which I can send to an unlocked room and find out what's going to be in that room when I get there. So I can decide if I'm like, oh, I'm really not feeling that one right now. Maybe I'll go over to this room over here instead and see what's going to be in that one. And that one came to me because a lot of the people on Flosstube have a dog or a cat or whatnot that those pick up and show, and I don't have any animals, so I was like, this will be my, little animal companion that goes with me. And then the other thing that I decided that I could get on a wheel reward is free stitches. So if I get one of those, then I will have 100 stitches that can be on any project that will still count towards killing that boss. So if I do to put in 600 stitches on the project, and I put in 500 stitches, but I'm really not feeling it, but I have some free stitches, then I can go to any of my other projects, put in 100 stitches, and still kill that boss. But I also felt that since bosses normally have random other monsters wandering the map, that I should also have some random monsters. And so I decided to put the penalties in there. So if I miss a day of stitching, if I do a new start without using keys, then they will spawn random monsters. And each of those random monsters will take 100 stitches to kill. And so I figured that each day of the week that I don't stitch will spawn a random monster. And for the new start, I figured I'd roll a d6 and see how many monsters it spawns. And then each time I go into the room, the boss monster will be determined by spinning a tiny decisions wheel, which has all of the ones I have currently started. And then I can see what that monster will be. I, at the moment, haven't put it to take anything off the wheel. So at the moment, everything in that room, that mausoleum, every room in that mausoleum could have the same boss monster if that's what happened to spin. I'll see how that works. If one keeps continuously spinning, I might just turn that off so that way they will go away, because I do kind of want to get all of my projects touched. But I'm still playing around with how I feel about that. And then I feel each time I hit a new level, I'll be able to explore a new section of the keep, and not only will my health increase, but I also feel like that stitch counts should increase, so maybe I'll add an extra 50 points or extra 50 stitches onto the roll. So then instead of being 300 stitches, it'll be 450 stitches or something. So that's what I have decided to do currently. And so I have my tiny decision wheel here. And so we will go ahead and spin it to see what the first room's boss monster will be. And it looks like it will be Chase. So Chase is a max color chart by Heaven and Earth Designs. By Matt Stewart is the artist. So I will pull that out and get my dice rolling and work on that for the next week. And the last thing that I want to talk about before I go is when I was on my last Zoom call with the Stitching Connection, I was talking about some cross-stitch pamphlets that I had found in my local thrift store, which I never find anything cross-stitch there. And I picked one up just mainly because I recognized the name, Teresa Winsler, as a really big, and it's these Christmas ornaments. And so I was talking to Megan from MJ Stitches 23 about them. And I was explaining that I thought, oh, maybe I'll make these for the Winter Ornament Exchange. And she was like, oh, that sounds amazing. And I was like, but the issue is, once I actually got to looking at it, was that they're extremely complicated. And she's like, well, it's all probably just one stitch at a time. And she's right. Like most cross stitches, it is one stitch at a time. The issue is like this one, because this one was the one I was looking at, it has 5 colors of regular cross stitch that are used in there. 4 of those colors are blended threads, which I have never done before. And then it has 3 different types of specialty stitches. A net pattern, upright crosses, 8-sided eyelets, and then diagonal satin stitch. So 4 specialty stitches. And then beading, which I've also never done before. So 4 new types of specialty stitches, beading, and blended threads, all in one little pattern. But the pattern itself doesn't really seem that big, so depending on how much I've got going on in December, because I will be working on the round robin at that point, but I do know that the one that I'm supposed to get is the smallest one. So if I have some extra time and I'm feeling like not a whole lot of pressure, I think I might pull this out because on her last Flosstube, Megan's MJ Stitches 23, I happened to win the giveaway for her Maple Leaf needle minder. So I was thinking I might just stitch that ornament and send it to her. Just kind of off of her extreme enthusiasm. If you've ever watched any videos, you'll know. And she just, because her talking to me the first Zoom that we ended, because everybody else got off the call and we stayed on the call for like another hour just talking. She was the one who kind of gave me the final push I needed to start my own floss tube. And then she just has such an enthusiasm for cross stitch and just learning, and I'm like, maybe I'll take a page out of her book and think, oh, I can do this, and learn some new stitches. So we'll see how it goes in December. If I have the time and available, then maybe I'll give that a shot, one stitch at a time. But until next time, just remember that you're not alone out in this world. There's all the rest of us out here on Flosstube. And, just remember to take the time for yourself and stitch where you need it. I'll see you all next time.